Hi, this is Kay. I just want to thank everybody out there who might be watching. Today is Truth Talk Tuesday, where we talk positivity and purpose. This week, I actually wanted to go into boundaries just a little bit more. I wasn't satisfied with the explanation that we gave last week when we discussed boundaries and self-care, as they related to the fight or flight response. So this week, today, I want to actually go into what boundaries are, what they look like, how to enact them, and why you need to enact them. Right. So that's what we're going to go over today. Before we get started, I want to make a few announcements. This coming Sunday is Creator Carnival. We are going to have an entire panel full of artists, cosplayers, painters, writers. It's going to be so much fun. I'm really excited. And that's going to begin at 3 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. And we're slotted for about, 1 to 2 hours. But honestly, we're just going to have fun. We're going to have a lot of fun. So we'll see how that goes. And today and the following week, we'll have Truth Talk Tuesday again, and then some really amazing um, uh, creators will join us, an author and a poet. So that's going to be even more exciting. So those are the events that are coming up over the next couple weeks. Now, as we get started, I'm going to add this to the stage. And I would like to introduce myself again to anybody out there who doesn't know who I am, and I'm sure everybody doesn't know who I am. But my name is Kareen McCabe. I'm originally from Oakland, California. I prefer to be called Kay. I received my bachelor's in psychology from CSU East Bay Hayward and my master's in counseling psychology as well as forensic psychology from Holy Names University, and I have been an author under the pseudonym of K.W. McCabe since 2011. So we will get started. Now, the title that I decided on tonight is More Boundaries Than Not, because boundaries are really, really important for everyone. And, more boundaries. I love you, but I love me too. Self esteem demands it. So you can love someone and still require yourself to try and take care of your own personal needs, right? So, armoring up, boundaries, limits, and hard lines. This is what we're going to talk about tonight. Show and tell. I'm going to show what boundaries look like, and then we're going to tell how to enact them. Self imposed boundaries, what those look like versus practicing boundaries, and what does practicing boundaries look like? Um, so this entire series that I've been doing so far has been dedicated to focusing on developing positivity within ourselves and enacting it through our purpose in the world. Whether you're a creator, whether you're a writer, whether you're an artist, whether you are working in film, design, music, we all have purpose, right? And in that purpose, we want to exude positivity because positivity actually provides the gas for creativity in our work. Last week, we discussed that boundaries are knowing and clearly communicating what you need, what you will or won't accept, and what you're willing to compromise. But we didn't go very much or very deeply into what real examples of real life boundaries look like, or how to notice situations that require you to enact boundaries. And this is actually really necessary in order to truly internalize what boundaries mean so that we can put them into practice. For example, you can set boundaries on how you will accept treatment from others, but you can also place boundaries on how you act or treat others as well. We usually call that setting standards. So, some people might have certain boundaries to how they interact with a group of friends. One person might have a boundary to where they refuse to talk about their friends to other people in their friend group, right? That's a boundary that they set on themselves. That is a standard that they hold for themselves. It is a boundary. So, show me the boundary line. So now we will look at various examples of situations and pinpoint where a boundary enforcement has taken place. Here are some examples that I created, and hopefully they're close enough to like real life situations that you'll be able to easily recognize them and or be able to point out situations that are similar to them. So Tony lives in a college dorm with roommates. Every weekend, his roommates go out and drink and party and beg him to go along. He refuses because he has tests and doesn't want to get behind on his studies. This is a type of boundary. Next one. Sophia goes out on a first date with a guy from her job. He pays for the food and drink and invites her to go back to his place. She refuses because she doesn't go home on the first date. This is a personal boundary, an internal boundary she has set on herself. Mike buys himself a new house. His widowed brother Luke and his kids come to visit. Luke asks if he can leave the kids for the weekend so he can spend time with his girlfriend who is visiting from out of town. Mike likes his nieces and nephews but doesn't feel comfortable babysitting small children over the weekend and refuses. Now, in this particular situation, you might think, oh, Mike is being selfish. Well, hold on. Let's take a look because there are very good reasons as to why he is making a good choice for himself, right? So before we go into that, we also want to look at what does it look like when we set personal boundaries, internal boundaries, standards for ourselves. Um, here are some examples. I am not saying that anybody should have these as their personal standards. These are simply examples that you might recognize or might have seen other people utilizing for their own personal way that they carry themselves in the world. I'm not saying that these are good or bad or anything else. These are simply examples. One, deciding that you will only go out to drink or party once a month. Again, this is just an example. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't party. 2, deciding that you will refrain from profanity. 3, deciding that you will listen more instead of speaking over others. Deciding that you will stop speeding and attempt to obey road laws. Okay, that one you probably should do. That one's probably a good one to do. 5, deciding that you won't backstab your friends or discuss their business when they're not around. And 6, deciding that you will refrain from negative, toxic speech and or behaviors. So each one of these are all examples of boundaries that some people, might choose to make. These are internal boundaries or standards that they hold for themselves. So we see also that there are different types of boundaries. There are internal boundaries that we hold for ourselves, and then there are external when we are working or interacting with other people that we have to say, no, this is a boundary that I am setting in our interaction and relationship with one another. So, why? Why though? Why do we need boundaries? Well, now that we have clearly delineated exactly what boundaries look like, the question is, first of all, can you identify areas in your life where you could clearly communicate your personal boundaries when needed? Like, are you able to look at your life and say, this is an area where I need to be more clear about setting boundaries for myself in this particular situation with another person? Are there areas where you can decide to create internal boundaries for yourself, ways that would increase your positivity and purpose? So, are there situations in your life where you could create internal standards for yourself, internal boundaries in the way that you interact or behave in the world? Or how you move through the world that would increase your level of positivity. That's creating a boundary for yourself or setting standards for yourself. Remember, boundaries are knowing what you need, what you will or won't accept, and what you are willing to compromise. We also discussed why it's extremely important to be able to effectively communicate to others what your boundaries are. Communicating boundaries is an essential part of self care. Now, why is that? Number one, because there are times, just like we discussed last week, where you might be experiencing overwhelm, right? You might be in a situation that is extremely stressful. You might be in a work environment that is extremely overloaded with tasks, or there might be a disaster happening every other second, right? You might be in a family situation where there's so many different dynamics going on, and there might be a lot of noise, there might be a lot of arguing, there might be many different situations where you are working or interacting with other people, whether it's familial, whether it's in a workplace environment, whether it's among friends or acquaintances, where you will need to be able to pull yourself back in order to self regulate. And in order to do that, you will have to enact boundaries. It is a part of self care. Now, consequences. So, what we want to do now is sort of look at the possibilities of what it looks like or what it could look like if you don't set boundaries when you actually should, right? So if we were to go back over to the examples that we gave earlier and remove the boundaries that each person placed, what might have happened differently? Well, you remember Tony, the student, the one who refused to go out with his friends. If he didn't, set that boundary, if he said, okay, I'm going to go out and drink and have fun, he might get bad grades and fail school. It might cost him a lot of money. If he flunks out of school, then what? It could ruin his life. So you see there in that situation, boundaries are extremely important, right? Number two, Sophia, remember Sophia who went on the date with her coworker and refused to, go home with him that night. Sophia, if she had not put that boundary in place for herself, she might end up entangled with a man who has no understanding of what boundaries are or what they look like. And this could lead to unfortunate circumstances. We can imagine, right? So, boundaries in that place, in that time, in that situation are actually a form of safety, physical, mental, emotional, not theoretical. Boundaries can also keep you safe. Number three, Mike might be stuck. Remember Mike? His brother wanted him to watch his kids so he could go spend time with his girlfriend, and Mike said no. Well, what if Mike had not said no? What if Mike had said, okay, leave your little kids here, your tiny little kids that I have no experience in watching, and go have fun with your girlfriend for the weekend? Well, Mike might be stuck in a house full of small children, and his house might burn down because he takes a nap while they run amok. I mean, it could happen. I'll give one example, just personal example. I took a 10-minute nap once when my child was 3 and she flooded our apartment. So it could happen to anyone. So this is why boundaries are extremely important, right? Boundaries are extremely important, even and especially in situations where someone else might expect you to follow through for them because they have need of your assistance, but in actuality, that their need might actually cause you some type of harm. So that's why you have to be very, very careful and look at situations. Yes, I want to help this person. Yes, I love and care about this person, but will their need cause some serious problems for me? Will their need cause, might be the catalyst to some destructive things that take place? If the answer to that question is maybe yes, then perhaps a boundary needs to be enacted and put in place. Now, self imposed standards. We've gone over why using boundaries is an important part of controlling your personal environment, safety, and well being, right? When we talked about Sophia and her boundary in order to stay safe, Mike and his boundary in order to not have his house burned down, and Tony and his boundaries in order to get good grades in school. But why would we need to engage in placing personal boundaries on ourselves? Well, the reason why is because we don't walk this planet by ourselves. You don't walk this planet by yourself. I don't walk this planet by myself. We are all interconnected. We don't walk this planet alone. We are all connected in some way to someone else, whether it's through friends, family, or loved ones. There's going to always be someone else who is affected by us, and therefore their boundaries will often brush or even clash with our own boundaries, right? So this is why self-imposed boundaries, self-standards, are extremely important. So, boundary effects on affects. On affect. In previous discussions, we have gone over how important it is to choose positivity as a way of increasing your effect on your personal purpose. Personal boundaries and standards are 100% a part of that process. So, throughout this series, we have talked about positivity, purpose, and enacting our purpose um, along with coinciding with positivity. Right? Positivity is the gas to your creativity. It assists you in creating, it assists you in self-regulating, it assists you in self-care. Positivity is extremely important. I would say it's essential to your creative process and in order to feel fulfilled as a human being. And boundaries are part of self-care. It is difficult to remain positive if you are not caring for yourself. It is difficult to remain positive if you are not holding healthy boundaries. Again, boundaries are a part of self care. So we see that boundaries, self care, and positivity are all connected. Enacting our boundaries is extremely important in the creation of healthy environments for ourselves psychologically, emotionally, and also physically. As we discussed previously, in stressful situations where enforcing healthy boundaries is necessary, practicing boundaries is a form of self care, and self care is mandatory when experiencing fight or flight and attempting to self regulate, which means basically self regulation means to calm your heart rate, slow your breathing, bring down your adrenaline, and to bring down your cortisol, right? Self regulation basically means I'm going to take this time to change my thought process in order to regulate my body and be able to calm down, be able to ground myself, be able to come into a peaceful state of mind. That's what self-regulation is. And boundaries, holding boundaries is an essential part of that. Self-regulation cannot happen if you are not caring for yourself. Finally, practicing personal standards within ourselves is the very first step to choosing positive action within ourselves and conversely on the world around us. So, if you hold personal standards, for example, if you say, I'm going to refrain, I'm going to stop speaking negative things, or I'm going to only focus my mind on positive thoughts, that is a boundary that you are holding within yourself. That is a self standard. That's a standard that you are making for you to live up to. But that standard that you are creating for yourself, as soon as you begin to practice it, if you put it in place over and over and over again, you are changing not only your state of being, you're self-regulating. You're changing your neurological process, right? You're changing your state of mind. You're changing your thought process. You're becoming more positive. And the more positive you are, the more able you are to affect your environment positively as well. So that's why creating personal standards in regards to positivity and self-regulation are extremely important. So boundaries plus positivity equals productivity. We have discussed throughout this series how the body and brain influence each other constantly. Your entire neurological system is built to protect your life. That's why it's called fight or fright, fight or flight, right? It's basically our neurology, our brain gauges every situation to say, is it safe? If it's not safe, do I need to fight? If I can't fight, do I need to run and hide? Right? That is how nature works. And this is how our body and our brain work together to keep us safe. So every day we come across situations that require us to recognize when we might need to engage in boundaries, not just to protect ourselves, but also to be able to grow emotionally in more healthy and positive ways. Remember, boundaries are an essential part of self care. If you are not holding safe boundaries for yourself, you are not caring for yourself properly. Here's a challenge. I would like to initiate a challenge. Throughout this week, try to recognize moments when we might be experiencing overwhelm. Is there a situation where you start to notice that your body starts to get tense? Maybe you feel a tightness in your chest. Maybe you feel some type of tightness in your shoulders. Your body experiences the stress and emotions that you might not allow yourself to feel. So what tension are you feeling? Where are you feeling it? Are you overwhelmed? Are you exhausted? Are you tired? Are you just frustrated? What emotions are you feeling? And those emotions will tell you if you need to put up a boundary. And if so, what boundary is needed? How do we protect our own boundaries while respecting the boundaries of others around us? Remember, we are not walking this planet alone. So, yes, we need to have boundaries, but we also need to respect other people's boundaries as well, right? So, um, um, say for example, um, oh man, this one's going to be a tough one. Your need for space might also clash with someone else's need to to um, to get something done. For example, if you're in a work environment and you're having a panic attack, most people might not experience panic attacks, but some people do. Or if you're just having an extreme moment where you're very angry, you might need to take 5 minutes to yourself, right? But your coworker might also be having a moment, and so you guys might have to work with each other. Okay, why don't you go take your 5 minutes first and then I'll go after? So you guys have to work with each other to assist in helping each other have safe boundaries. That's what that means. Recognize that yes, you have boundaries, but other people also have boundaries, and that's what it means to walk in this world and remember that you're not alone. So how do we protect our own boundaries while respecting the boundaries of others around us? And how can we heal ourselves with self care? Think of all of the ways that you might need self care. Maybe you need more sleep. Maybe sleep isn't really possible the way you would like to take it, but can you take, a 10-minute nap in your car, right? Like whatever self care you need, you are not going to be able to move effectively or as effectively as you could if you are not engaging in self care. Then take a minute or a moment, even if it's only 5 minutes, and enforce a boundary. All right. Engage in self care and practice positive affirmations to bring down your stress levels and uplift your mood. So, what might this look like? You might say, you know what, guys, I'm, I'm, I'm at, I'm up here. I need to come down here. Just give me 5 minutes. Just five. That's all I'm asking. That's enforcing a boundary. Go somewhere quiet, breathe, calm down. If it's difficult to calm down, then just do breathing exercises and tell yourself positive affirmations to bring down your stress levels. Constantly doing this, going to safe spaces, telling yourself, I'm going to care for myself now. And slowly over time, your body will recognize that, okay, for this 5 minutes, I can calm down, I'm safe. And your mood will start to change in those spaces of time. So that's a practice that you want to put into place. That's the challenge. All right. So that ends the tiny talk for this Tuesday. I just want to thank anybody who might have come in for watching. And again, please remember this Sunday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're having Creator Carnival. We're going to have an entire full panel of creators and artists this Sunday. I'm super excited. And we will see you next week. Have a good night.